Hi, I'm Alden from Good Twin, Bad Twin. Today's show, we're speaking with Dominique Brown, a financial expert. He deals with credit repair, investing. He's just an all around financial specialist. Get your notepad because you want to tune in. Well, good morning, Mr. Brown. Good morning.
Good morning to you as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you have a lot going
on. Well, not too much these days. I think the work is different for me at this point, but I'm glad I was able to attend, even though we're getting off a little bit later. I thought I was going to be too late for the meeting because I was running up to something else, but I appreciate you guys for still moving forward with it.
Okay, awesome. What we like to do is, of course, start out telling us a little bit about yourself, and that way we can explain to our guests why we have you on today.
So you want the personal story or the business side? Because some people just want to talk business side, or you want to know about the person. Which one is easier for you?
Actually, if you can compress them both, because I've heard your business. I've personally heard your business side, but I didn't know what led you to what you do now.
Okay, so this is my origin story, as the villain will say, as the villains typically say in the superhero movies. So for me, growing up in a single parent household in West Philadelphia, father wasn't around. Met him later on in life and things like that. So no resentment. I won't be on Maury all hurt or anything like that. But all I knew essentially was my family members were either doing sports or they were doing some form of illegal activity. So insert my mother. She's like, listen, you're going to do the sports stuff, but I want you to go far away from school so you are outside of our environment. So it starts with a strong African-American woman who was like breaking the cycle, essentially. So sent me off to George Mason University in Fairfax as she's progressing and going through her life, coming from, humble beginnings. She quote unquote makes it, and then life happens financially. Her and my ex-stepfather, rest his soul, they go through things financially. They lose the house, they lose the cars. So imagine a kid now is like your superhero gets hurt and you don't have the knowledge nor the money to assist your mother. Like that didn't sit well with me at all. So essentially I looked at my mom as, all right, well, they don't teach this stuff in school, and I don't have the money to solve your problems financially. The only thing I can do is let me get in the books to start figuring some things out. So I start stumbling down this credit path, and I understood that your credit score is a byproduct of your financial behavior. If my mom and my stepfather had better communication around money, maybe some of the problems they had that caused some of the financial distress wouldn't occur. So, okay, let's look at what's the credit report. So we pull a credit report. We're looking through that. I'm like, well, how do you improve this thing? So, all right, 35% of your score is this, 30% of your score is that. Working with her, are we fixing this? Then we get to another hurdle. We got a budgeting problem. Your issue is you're not managing money properly. All right, let's create a budget. We create the budget. So now we solve the budget thing. We solve the credit thing. It's like, all right, well, I want you to not need me when you get older, right? Because I don't know where I'm going to be financially. So your budget's good. So how do we invest this money? So now I looked at it as a series of helping my mother get to a certain point. And then her and my wife say, you have a way of explaining complex topics and making them easy. Maybe this should be your thing, right? So I create a blog, Your Finance is Simplified, and I'm journaling how me and my mother are doing this thing, and I'm doing it for myself. I literally went from a 504 credit score to a perfect 850, doing all the same exact things. People started coming to me saying, hey man, can you help me with the credit? I wrote a book. I said, I'm not answering no credit questions. I refuse. Credit is easy to me, right? It should be easy to you. In my second page of my book, I say, and it's called How to Fix Your Credit on Amazon. Is a picture of me and my daughter. I wrote this book because I was tired of y'all asking me about credit questions. Here, people got the book and still say, can you do it for me? So I say, you know what? I'll create the service, but I want to do it a different way. I want to include budgeting. I want to include home ownership. I want to include investing, car buying, because you're only improving your credit for something. Just like people go to the gym for the abs. They go to the gym to feel good. That's why you want your credit score to look a certain way so you can buy stuff. So that's where the program was created. And that stemmed off to a one-on-one program, a DIY program, and then there's a program on how to start a business doing this for others. And there'll be some other things coming down the line as well based off this vein. But it all started with just a guy from West Philadelphia, right where Will Smith was born. My mother went to high school with him, who wanted to help his mom. And it just turned into a passion to help more people who look like me.
Okay, awesome. Great story. So now that we've heard how you got into the field, and I know it's easy for you, but what is it that you do? What do you do?
So I help people understand, improve, and protect their credit so they can get the things that they want. Another thing that we do is we teach you how to understand your money so you can live life on your own terms. I think personal finance is personal. Everybody has different things that they want to accomplish. Some people like the eyelashes. Some people like travel. Some people like, video games. And I think if you understand your wants and your needs and you wrap that around a budget, you can be extremely happy with your finances. So it's all about financial improvement, financial empowerment, and getting financial freedom.
Okay. So what is credit? Or what are the components of credit?
You said, what are components of credit?
Yeah, what is credit?
All right, so credit is essentially what somebody will be judging you by to lend money, whether that is a car dealership, whether that is a mortgage broker, whether that is your best friend, right? It's your financial character at the end of the day. Now, there's 5 things that make up your financial character. There is 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. You can break it down like that. So 35% of your score is paying your bills on time, right? Just literally making the minimum payment. Not more, not less, making the minimum payment on time. 30% of your score is what we call credit utilization. So you might have a credit card that might have a $1,000 limit. If you're using 500 of it, you're at 50% utilization. You want to be between 1% and 7%. Just think of it that way. 15% of your score is how long you've had credit. People who have credit for 20 years look a little bit more trustworthy than somebody who just got credit. 10% of your score is your types of credit. So a type of credit could be revolving or an installment. For example, auto loan is installment, student loan is installment, a mortgage is installment. Revolving are things like your credit cards, right? So if you have, say, Capital One or Chase or Bank of America or, American Express Platinum, these are revolving cards and they're treated a little bit differently. And the last 10% of your score is inquiries, right? Inquiry is literally you applying for credit for someone, not if your job looks into your credit, but if you go to your favorite store and they say, hey, you want 10% off? Typically you sign an application, you're applying for credit. That would be an inquiry. Those are the 5 things that comprise your credit score and the algorithm as well.
Okay. Now, everybody, and thanks for breaking that down. 35, 35.
35, 30, 15, 10, 10.
15, 10, 10. Okay. Mm-hmm. Everybody's talking about fixing credit now. Just about on Facebook. What makes your service or what makes your approach different than anybody else?
What makes my approach different is the holistic view, right? So I know that you want to improve your credit for something, but if I also show you how to manage your money, I also show you how to go after assets instead of liabilities. Not liabilities. Not only will you improve your credit, but there's a chance that you can gain financial freedom at the end of the day. I want you to make smart decisions with your money. Credit is going to be a part of our life, but I'm not a fan of like just getting your score up for 30 days so you can get a car. Well, let's change the mindset around money. Let's think about saving 10 to 20% of our income and then investing half of that so we can get free. As we already know, what happened, over this last year or so, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost that safety that thought was there. So you have to take it on your own shoulders to say, all right, I need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Or more importantly, I need to be prepared for the best case scenario. I need to be prepared for my 40, 50, and 60-year-old self. And it might take a little bit of sacrifice right now. So my whole approach is, yes, let's improve the credit, but let's talk about making smart money decisions. So not only are you straight, but you might be able to change your family's legacy as well.
Okay, awesome. Now, what are some myths about credit that you've heard or that you know right off? Don't do this or don't do that, or like
there's a lot of them, man. Like, for example, one is that this is funny, and I see this probably every 2 weeks, like, oh, if you take your credit card and you pay it 6 times in a month, it's like getting 6 on-time payments and they make your score. Nope, that's not how that works. They report your statement balance to the credit bureaus. It doesn't matter if you pay them 17 times before the statement. It don't matter if you pay them right before the statement. They are going to report your statement balance to the credit bureaus, and that's what's going to reflect. Right. Another myth is people think that if they get their credit card statement or a statement and they pay it immediately, that's what's going to show up on the credit report. Incorrect. It's always a 30 or 45-day lag. You have to either pay it off before the statement, or you want to make sure you're within that 1% to 7% range before the statement, which leads to another thing. It's not 30% of your credit limits. It's 7% of your credit limits and under. So if you want the highest score possible, 45 days before you apply for, say, a mortgage or a car loan, pay your credit cards down to 1%. That's what you want to do. In 45 days, that new statement will reflect, your score will look great. Another myth that I've seen is, 609 letters. People like swear by them. If you ever look at section 609 of the FCRA, it has nothing to do with removing of information on your credit report. So what gets things removed from your credit report is identifying something that's inaccurate, or if the response is untimely, or if it's not verifiable. That's it. I don't care what people tell you. You can freeze, you can do a magic trick, you can write in red pen, you can write in purple pen. The only thing that gets things removed from your credit report is identifying if it's inaccurate, untimely, or unverifiable. Everything else will probably end up coming back.
Okay, you said an FCR and a 609.
So FCRA is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That is the Bible for credit repair. That is the basis of everything. If you just go into Google and type that in, you'll bring up this long document in which that's what the credit bureaus use to determine what stays and what goes. That's it. There's no special hack about it. It's been around since the 80s. Everyone is a public document. The moment you start kind of reading it and understanding that, you'll be able to see, this is why stuff came back. This is why they verified it. This is why on third-party reports, things are not showing the full account numbers. It's all inside the FCRA.
Okay, you said the only three things that take it off are, what were those 3 things again?
All right, so if it's inaccurate, unverifiable, and untimely. So say, for example, you have a collection on your credit report, or a charge off, or something negative on your credit report. And you look at it and you say, the amount they say I owed is off. You can challenge that with the credit bureau, right? So say you say Equifax, they're saying I owe $500. That is just not true. I don't owe these individuals $500. Can you look into this? Equifax would go back to the person and say, hey, can you verify that this is correct? If they can't verify that is correct, that gets it removed, right? Another scenario might be the same instance. You say, I don't owe these guys $500. Equifax goes back to the person. They don't respond. That's an untimely removal, right? Because they didn't respond within a certain time frame, then it gets removed. Unverifiable might be, you might say, hey, can you verify this is accurate? And sometimes this kind of gets mixed up in inaccurate thing. And the person can't verify it, right? So a lot of times these debt collectors might buy debt from a spreadsheet. I mean, people resell debt all the time, and then they come to you saying, hey, give me the full amount. right? But they don't have any proof of what they're asking for. So when you send a debt validation letter or you challenge this, if they can't come back with proof to the credit bureaus, it's unverifiable. So therefore it gets deleted. Those are your three scenarios.
Okay. How long do they have to verify or to prove that
According to the credit report, the FCRA, they have 30 business days from when they receive a request to complete their investigation. So the credit bureaus will have 30 business days from doing that. Now, due to the corona pandemic, the CFPB has given them a little bit more grace. So even though the FCRA is what they should be abiding by, the rules on them enforcing that could be a little bit longer. So I've seen some disputes rounds take 60 days to get responses from, or 90 days to get responses from, and they're really kind of milking that. But the letter of the law says 30 business days from when they receive your letter. So if you send something today, first class mail, you can assume it's going to get there in 7 days. Just assume another 30 days or 35 calendar days before you get a response.
Okay. And also with that same example you said about the $500, what if it comes, what if I didn't owe 500, but I do owe 3, they could come back and say, okay, we've verified it or we've checked, it was 3.
Yes, they can update it, right? So then you'll typically get something in the mail saying we updated this record, and they most likely, the creditor or collection agency, put the correct information on there now.
Okay. Is there a thing about it being on your credit, like after 7 years or something, falling off? Is that true? Or?
Yes. So you have, that's called the Statute of Limitations. You have two of them. You have a state one, and you have a federal one. The 7-year plus 180-day rule is the federal one, right? So say, for example, you had an auto loan and you had some late payments, right? And that's your last payment was January of 2021. And you say, well, Don, when is this going to fall off my credit report? It'll be 7 years plus 180 days from your date of your last payment. That's how that would work. Now, say you had an auto loan and you just stopped paying them this year, and you are in the state of, I don't know, let's say Virginia. You're in the state of Virginia. The state statute of limitation is about when they can sue you to get their money, right? How long they have to enforce this contract that you signed. So if you stop paying them in January of 2021, and they have 6 years to be able to take you to court over this. After that 6 years, they can't get their money back, but there's still a little gap between when it falls off your credit report. That's how that would work. Some states have 3-year statute of limitations for certain types of debt. Some have 15 years. So depending on what state you're in and when or where you made this contract is how long you will have your state statute of limitations last as well. Well, we're talking about credit reporting only. That's typically 7 years plus 180 days, unless we're talking about a bankruptcy, which could be up to 10 years. And tax stuff is forever. So that's never going, you can't get out of that. That's going to be on your report for a minute.
Student loan as well, right?
No. You may owe, but after 7 years plus 180 days, that should fall off also. The problem with student loans is that they don't have to go through like due process, right? So if it's a federal student loan, you can wake up one day and they just garnish you. Like that's the scary part about them. Once you fall into default, it could be an issue. They can take your taxes. They can go into your bank account. They can just issue a garnishment warning against your paycheck. That's the scary thing about student loans. The private ones, they still have to go through all the courts, but the federal, no, they can just take your stuff. That and taxes, it could get really nasty for you if they want to.
Okay, but as far as 7 years, they still stay on your credit like taxes, or do they?
Yeah. So matter of fact, let me pull up my statute of limitations document really quickly. I think we can do a screen share, right? Do I have that a capability?
I'm not sure.
I'll say, here's another thing, guys. I know a lot, but I'm not all knowing. Sometimes I do got to look it up. So I don't want to misspeak. So give me 2 seconds. Let me bring up my, let me see here. Screen share. It says, oh, I do have the ability. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right, so I'm about to go into one of my courses really quickly. All right, course enrollment. Give me a second. Give me a second. I want to speak directly to this. Let me see. I covered this.
I appreciate the fact that you're giving accurate information. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you. Because I've heard some people say some things, like you said, about the seven paying a credit card bill 7 times before.
Yeah, none of that stuff. You know what? I tried it and I was like, man, that don't work. All right, so say for example, me and you had we had an oral contract, right? And we're in Arizona. Our oral contract you can only sue me within 3-year time frame. But if you had an auto loan, which is written, I'm not sure if you can see this, it's 6 years. Student loans typically fall under the promissory note range, which is like 6 years too, except for federal is a little bit different. And open is kind of like a credit card scenario. So if you see here, like, you can default on a credit card and they can't come after you for 3 years to sue you for the money that you're owed. But, certain states, like if you're in Kentucky, 15 years, 5 years, a little bit longer for them. So if you see here, late payments, charge-offs, foreclosures, short sales, inquiries are 2 years. Positive accounts are typically 10 years. I put 7 years by accident, but it's 2. So what was the other question you said? You said something about tax lien?
I said taxes and student loans.
Okay, taxes indefinitely, but paid 7 years.
Okay.
But after paying it, you can say you paid your taxes. There is a way to get it removed. It's filing a form 12277 or a fresh start initiative. That's what they call it. Student loans will be federal. They can come after you forever, but my understanding is still be 7 years plus 180 days once it falls off.
Okay. So, basically, what would you? Someone comes to you. What's a start besides just calling Dominique Brown? If I want to improve my credit, what would you say to someone? Where do they start, or where they begin?
If we were to get started, I would say, say you were signed up. The first thing that we do is, of course, we'll review the credit report and we're going to analyze how you are using your revolving credit, or if you need revolving credit, right? Because that's 30% of your score. And it also factors into your paying on time range. So if you got 70, 80% utilization, we need to create a budget to get that down. I need to understand, well, why is it this high? Let's look at our money to make sure, because that's a quick win. That's the easy win. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to analyze the credit report, going through the information section to make sure all your addresses are correct, your personal information is correct. And then we're going to go line by line, right? So we're going to look at the real estate accounts if you have them. Look at your revolving accounts if you have them. Look at your collection accounts if you have them. If you have anything negative, then we're going to challenge those things and go through the disputing process while working with you individually to make sure you are handling your business on paying on time, keeping the utilization low, and possibly adding positive accounts to your credit as well. So we take a fitness-based approach, right? You got to eat right and work out to get abs. That's just how it is. In order to improve your credit, improve your finances, we got to have some goals. We got to do some money management, and we have to do the credit repair process at the same time. So that's what we will do.
You said 80% utilization. Explain that to me.
All right. So once again, if you have $1,000 credit card, right, from say Capital One, and you're using $800 of that, you're at 80% utilization. You don't look too good to the credit people, right? Capital One's probably not going to give you more money, and that's going to hurt your credit score because the algorithm is 30% of your score, and you want to be at 7% and under to get the most out of the algorithm.
Okay. I'm with you now because I remember when you mentioned 7% earlier. Because typically the myth was 30%.
Yeah, I think that's a bit outdated. From all my research and my years of doing it, it's 7% and under has given the best results.
What about paying off the credit card before, like having? I'm not carrying over a balance month to month. That's
well, that will work too. So The way I look at it is, if you know when your statement date closes, And I got some folks in real estate who do this, right? You might have an Airbnb business, or you might be in real estate and you might need it to run up the card to do a flip or to get furniture for your place to sell it, right? This happens. And say your statement date is 30 days away. You can use 100% of your card between day 1 and day 29. And on day 29, so say you pay it all off, the statement closes, they're going to report a zero balance and you can do it all over again. So I would say it's easier for me to just say, never go over 7%, right? So never go over, $70 per $1,000 of limit that you have. But if you know when things close for the statement, you can play the game of, all right, I know when my money's going to come in. I'm just going to pay it off before the statement, and then I can use the card again if you have the discipline to do that.
So another point that you talk about, speaking of discipline, is budgeting.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about that. What is budgeting? What you do? What's the end game of the budgeting?
All right. So one, I use the word budget because it's like everyone knows what a budget is, but I truly call it a spending plan. I think it takes the bite out of it, because when people hear a budget, like, man, I can't spend my money. I can't do what I want to do. Like typically typically, your mom or your parents will say, I'm on a budget. I'm on a fixed budget. And it's a negative connotation. I flip it. I take the power out of it. I say, well, because we know our goals, right? A year from now, if I want to buy a house, I just want to have a game plan to get my house, right? So my budget is going to get me to where I want to go. Or my spending plan is going to get me to where I want to go. So the first thing I want to tell you is, let's identify the stuff that you want to do. Let's be selfish for a second. Do you want a certain type of car? Do you want a certain type of house? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to set aside money for a child's education fund? Put all that down first. Then let's put all our bills down as well, and then put an emergency fund there also. So you're going to have lifestyle goals. You're going to have debt goals. You're going to have saving goals. Your budget is just a map to X those things off. So when you start thinking of it that way, a budget ain't too bad, right? Another huge thing that I like to do with the budget is I like to say budget in the fun stuff. I'm not a huge fan of you just going without. You work too hard to not get a haircut, to not get your nails done, to not enjoy yourself. So I think 10% of your money should go to play, 10% or so, right? Whatever is comfortable with you. So you can still pay down your debt. You can still put stuff in your emergency fund, but you can still have some money to get the game that you like, the sneakers that you like, the eyelashes, the haircuts, whatever is your particular vice. Now, as far as the structure of a budget, there's a few areas. There's income, something I call must-have expenses. There are savings / goals, and then there's wants. That's it. And the numbers do not lie. We all know what our income is. And I do everything off of net income, not gross, because, you only can use what after the tax man get theirs. You already know what your income is. Either you're getting paid weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, right? So take your last paycheck and you put it in there. And we have a budget column and an actual column, and I'll explain that in a second too. Must-have expenses are things that you must pay even if you lost your job. If you lost your income and you still had to pay these things, for example, minimum credit card payments, your rent, food, groceries, gas, maybe you have some other expenses, maybe daycare, you're taking care of somebody. Those are things that you have to do. Some people put, religious obligations could be in there as well. Your savings and goals are what we just talked about, right? So say your number one priority is to get, $2,000 in your emergency fund, because if you lose your job, you don't want to have to just go get anything. Then we're targeting one goal at a time, a man of focus. We don't target 17 things at once. And then play money is a designated number that you give yourself either in cash or a separate debit account. So think of it like a cheat meal for your finances, right? Nobody eats chicken and broccoli for 7 days a week. I don't care who you are. You're going to want a piece of candy. You're going to want a burger, right? And it's okay as long as you have a game plan for it. So if you say, hey, Don, man, I got to get my hair cut. I got to get a certain shirt. I got to get certain shoes. Cool. I just want you to plan around it. And if you do it that way, everybody's happy because you get your play money and you still handle your business. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
And as you bring in more money, you just add it to the income, and it allows you to accelerate your goals, right? Because if you checking off your goals, you're like, oh man, I paid off XYZ. I have an emergency fund. Eventually you're going to get to the point where all you have left is to invest. And then you can actually take risks. Most people can't move to investing because they didn't structure their budget or their goals enough to get them into position to invest. It's no different than a marathon. Just because you want to run a marathon, dude, if you have not trained and ran 12 miles at least, don't talk to me about a marathon. You're going to die out there. That's what's going to happen with everything else. So you're slowing down, you're planning it out, and you're putting yourself in position to win by structuring it in a clear, defined way.
Okay. Now I'm sitting here thinking about what you're talking about with the spending plan. Even with you saying that, you took just about all of my negative thoughts about budgeting out, and actually you wiped away all of my questions about budgeting.
This is a clear path to get what I want. That's it. That's it.
Because I was thinking, what do you ever find situations where somebody is in too deep, or hey, you're just pathetic, we can't help you?
Well, there could be several scenarios like that. That could be a mindset issue. There are some people who just won't commit to it, right? So it's kind of like, all right, if we create this thing and we created your budget for the month and you separated your play money. You know that if you go over your play money, we have to take from somewhere, right? Because we only got so much money coming in a month. So if you know that, then why did you do it? Right? There's certain scenarios like that. Like people just feel as though they can't, like, oh, I never learned about money. Okay, let's learn about money right now. You know for a fact you have $500 play money to spend, right? If you go over that, you can't do this. If you go over that, it's going to push you 2 months, 3 months out from your house. You have that discussion and they do it anyway, then that might be somebody where you might have another mindset discussion around it. Like, well, why did you think eating out an additional meal was more important than putting the money towards your house, right? Number two, you have folks who just don't make enough money to achieve what they want to achieve. You have someone with like unrealistic goals. So, social media is a gift and a curse. I swear everybody is millionaires and billionaires now. Everybody got the fancy car and a private jet now. So it's very easy to get down on yourself or where you are now based off the illusion that people around you give. You might even have a best friend. You'd be like, man, I know for a fact you're not doing it, but your social media profile look beautiful, right? It's so easy to be to not accept where you are. So if you make $50,000 a year, it's unrealistic to have $1 billion goals on your sheet. You need to have maybe $55,000 goals on your sheet, unless you're telling me there is a game plan for increasing our income. Because the way I look at it is the numbers don't lie. And that's why I love the budget. Okay, let's put these goals down. Now let's create the budget. It's going to take 3 years to accomplish that. We got two options. Keep going this same rate, reduce expenses, bring in more income. And you can only cut but so far. I'm not a huge fan of just eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's not a great way to live. And that's no knock to people who love PB&J. However, we have to be honest with ourselves as well. If the numbers are telling us it's going to take us 10 years to get here with our current income and our current expenses, and we reduce expenses and we get it down to 8 years, what is the next option? Bring in more money. How can we bring in more money? How can we learn a new skill? What can we do at our current job to bring in more money, right? Is there a certification that we can take? Is there a class that we can take? And just having these real life conversations is what the budget allows you to have. And it's great for couples as well. You know, some people have a spender, some people have a saver. That spender don't get it until you kind of show it to them. And that saver don't get it until you kind of show it to them as well. So it allows you to open up communication. And I personally use it as a buffer to have these tough communications with clients.
So you with your spending plan, you suggest goals as well as eliminating debt.
Oh yeah. Yes, like the eliminating debt is not going to get you up in the morning. You ain't going to get up in the morning and say, "Ooh, I'm going to pay down this credit card." You'll get up in the morning to get that house, though. You get up in the morning to get that particular car that you want, or that boat, or that trip, or that travel. So you have to mix in the yin and the yang. Like, once again, nobody wants to go into the gym and do an hour worth of cardio, do a bunch of pull-ups, bunch of sit-ups, and eat right to not have abs, right? It's you have to have that carrot that somebody wants at the end of the tunnel as well, and you just combine them at the same time.
Okay, even if someone has, okay, I got a nice life. I got 3 cars out in the driveway, and I got a nice 5-bedroom house. I'm good with my goals.
Mm-hmm.
You say it's about something they want to budget for or plan for.
Well, all right. So you said I got the cars that I want. I got the house that I want. Now my question would say, well, and I like this one. My mentor used this on me. Say you were to pass away and people who knew you are coming up to speak on you at your funeral. You can hear them. You can't move. You like the guy on the Coming to America movie. You can hear them though. What are they saying about you? Right? What do you want them to say about you? Now, if you're content on the income you make, the debt and all that stuff, well, let's start talking about legacy. How can you put people around you on? I'm pretty sure there's somebody you might be good, but there's people around you that you love that may not be there, right? So maybe your purpose shifts to things of that nature, right? Or it could just be completely other things, right? Maybe you want to structure your day a certain way, right? You might have the cars in the house, but you might want to say, I want to get to the point where I don't have to have these conversations. I want somebody else doing it. That might take a certain budget and certain money, certain mentality for you to get there. So your goals may shift from things to certain achievements, and your budget can still kind of gauge you.
Okay. Say that last part again. We had some technical difficulty. You said our goals may change to.
Okay, so your goals may change from paying down debt to getting houses and cars to certain achievements, right? To certain business goals. For example, say you have certain family members that you want to put in position, or you want to structure your day a certain way, right? So your budget still allows you to say, okay, I need to hire certain engineers to do my editing for me. I need to hire somebody to do these calls for me because I want a certain lifestyle now. I want to be able to just come in for 5 minutes a day and everything be passive. You still need money and mindset to be able to accomplish those things. So you might be okay from your asset standpoint and your debt standpoint, but I'm pretty sure there's other things that you want to do. There's certain legacies that you want to leave that your budget can still assist you with.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for repeating that. Talk a little bit about assets, if you don't mind. What is an asset?
So I look at an asset as something that appreciates in value, something that will bring you more revenue versus cost you it, right? So I don't use the traditional definition of asset or liability, right? Because a house can be a liability as well, but also can be an asset. So can a car. So the way I just look at it is something that brings you value to your portfolio of things that you have.
What makes a house an asset and what makes it a liability?
All right, so here's my opinion on it. I think the house you live in is technically like is a liability, right? It'll be an asset and a liability on the sheet, right? So you purchase it for a certain amount, right? So say you purchase a house for $100,000 and it's worth 105, right? So it's an asset. You can sell it for 105 right now, and it's a liability. You have $100,000 of what you owe on it. So pretty much your worth of that house is around $5,000. So it kind of works both ways. That's how I look at the house you live in. It could be a complete asset if it's like, say, a rental unit, right? So say you bought it for 100, but it's written for $3,000 a month. It could be an asset in that regard as well. So a house, if you owe on it, it's still an asset and a liability because you owe somebody on it, as well as the value of what it's worth.
Okay. What are your suggestions for the best assets for your clients or students?
It really depends on where you are, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, your business is a huge asset, right? It's tough to say that you can invest in something other than your business to make a huge return, right? So like I know for a fact that if I buy a house, it will not be as beneficial as me taking more time to invest in the business that I have. But say you are say you're an employee, you're not an entrepreneur. How would I structure this? I would say all debt over 7% interest, you probably should eliminate first before investing outside of your 401k match or anything like that you get from your employer. Because your match is 100% return on your investment. You put in 6%, they give you 6%, take that free money. The reason why I say 7% or more, right? So if you have any debt 7% or higher, if you take that money and say invest it into the stock market, there's a chance of losing it. But in order to break even on that, and if you're in a 25, I'm getting a little geeky. If you're in a 25% tax bracket, it's called the tax equivalent yield. That's what it's called. You need to earn 10% to match paying off that debt. There's nothing that guarantees a 10% ROI, right? So it's probably in your best interest to let's take our 401k match. Let's have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Let's pay off all our debt over 7% interest. Then you take a step back and say, okay, I need to invest into what is going to maximize the income I bring at my job, right? So I used to be in IT security. When I did that analysis, I know I needed to get a project management certification. I know that I needed to get a security plus and something called the CISSP. That would pretty much give me the top of where I need to be in this area. I invested in taking those tests. Less than $1,000 was able to increase my income by 50K. No brainer, right? I'm already at the job 8 hours a day. So I think a lot of people are once again, because of social media, oh, I'm going to do Airbnb. I'm going to do Amazon. I'm going to do a Shopify store. I'm going to invest in Bitcoin. Instead of saying, I'm at this job 8 hours a day. Let me just have a conversation with my manager on what can I do to drastically increase my income? Is there a skill set that I need to do? Is there a class? Is there the amount of hours I need to work? You can probably increase your income by 25 to 50% within a year by just focusing on what it takes to get to your job. Now, if you're maxed out there, then it's like, okay, I have the big income for the job. I need to start investing outside of the job as well, right? So now you can say, I'm either going to start a business or I'm going to stay at the job and invest in, say, the stock market or some form of passive entity because I probably don't have the time to really dedicate to everything else. So that's how I would kind of structure it.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship. I really believe a lot of folks should be taking some time to figure out what they're passionate about, figure out what is profitable in their passion, and then go down that route as well. Because once again, there's no guarantee that the quote unquote stable job will be there a year from now at all.
And the spending plan would allow them to
well, absolutely. Think about it for a second, right? If you say, all right, Dom said, pay off all my debt over 7% interest, right? You line it up. What's the APR on it? What's the amount that you owe? And you just prioritize it from that. I'm a huge fan of what they call the debt snowball. I like to line it up from lowest to highest. You can also do, you can load it up from you can line it up from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate as well. That's better mathematically, but from an emotional standpoint, the debt snowball is best. So you can do that one. I also said, Dom said I should get, I'm speaking in third person. Dom said I should get 2 to 3 months of emergency fund. Well, we need to calculate what that is. Take your must-have expenses, multiply that by 2. That gives you your 2-month emergency fund. Why do we do it that way? Because if it's a want or a goal, we can just cut it out. It's not must, right? We can get rid of it. So if I say my must-have expenses are $2,000, I need $4,000 in my emergency fund. Let me get that. All right. Dom said also that I need to invest in, ask the question first. And if there's anything I can do at my job to get me drastic improvement, I need to start looking towards that. Analyze the classes. If it's going to cost you $2,000, that's something that you can put on your budget that you can start putting your money towards. Everything. If you can't measure it, it ain't real. That's how I look at it. I don't do nothing by emotion. Everything can be calculated to a degree, especially when it comes to finances. So if you have aspiration of a certain house, a certain business amount, you just do the math. How much is it going to cost you to start that business? Put it in your budget. Your budget will tell you how long it would take you to save for that. Pretty simple to me.
Okay. That makes sense.
I'm sorry. Your spending plan.
The spending plan. That makes sense. You actually you kind of got me. The way you explaining that spending plan kind of got me at a loss because I'm thinking I had 100 questions about budget. now, now I'm thinking, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, because you was looking at a budget like a negative thing. He's like, man, this man getting ready telling me to not eat out. He gonna get ready to tell me I can't do nothing. Nope. You just got to plan it.
You got to
So
plan.
planning your happiness, and then the residual goes to your goals. You can achieve your goals and still be happy. I don't understand that. Like a lot of folks, I would never pay XYZ for a car. Well, okay. Well, it's not in your budget. That's cool. Personal finance is personal. You have 3 cars. You're a car guy. If I tell you got to get rid of 2 cars, we obviously on the wrong foot already. You ain't got like we don't relate. You don't get it. That's all you're gonna say. And that's fine. That's why I don't judge nobody. There are some people who I have clients who spend $1,000 a month on hair. I don't get it. I shave. You know what I mean? It costs me $3 for my cut. That it don't bring me fulfillment. I'm a huge fan of cutting out all things that don't matter to you and spending insane amount of money and time on the stuff that you care about. That will make you happy. That's why I said personal finance is personal.
And developing the spending plan will clearly define what makes you happy.
Boom. Because if you're putting your money towards what's not making you happy, you're a fool. That makes no sense to me. Like, so if you're not for example, if you're not a TV person, there's no reason for you to have the highest cable package, right? That makes no sense. You're not going to watch it. Why do that? Why? Put that $200 a month, $250 a month towards something that you care about. You might be like, "Ooh, I'm a car person. No problem. I'm putting my money towards the Ferrari 48." That makes you happy. Do it. It's okay as long as you plan for it, as long as you're not reckless with it. If you're not a designer person, right? You may not care about that. Why wear designer? Put your money towards what's going to make you happy. Put your money towards what's going to make you smile. Not trying to fulfill some vision that social media or the people around you think that you should be. And I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in appearances and how they should look according to other people's spending and other people's point of view, where they really should look inward and say, well, what's going to make me happy? I'm going to do that. And then I think the world will be a better place.
Do you think people's must-haves outweigh their income? Do you find that? Sometimes
when you don't track it, it can. And a good case in point is with cars and sometimes houses, right? People will spend insane amount of money on a car just to like have it. Like, all right, I got a $600. Let's say somebody has a $2,000 a month income, and between car, gas, and insurance, that might be $1,000. Like a lot of people kick themselves in the foot based off of just not doing the numbers and understanding that they need to kind of spend according to what their goals are versus what the norm is. So oftentimes, yes, people who have not, if you never tracked it, it's just like fitness. It's very easy to overeat if you don't track your macros. Right. If you like, if you used to eating a certain thing, it's kind of like, oh, I've always done it this way. That's typically what happens. Right. Or I've always had a car note. That's typically what happens also. And all of a sudden it blows up their must-haves, and it takes them an additional year or two to get to where they want to go. And then the resentment sets in of, I wish I never bought this thing, or I wish I never did that, because, you know, everyone has a breaking point. So yeah, it's very common to have your must-have expenses be high. And what I consider high is 80%. So if 80% of your money must go out the door, that means you really only have 20% for goals, savings, and fun. You're a ticking time bomb, close to, right? So we got to do some expense reduction, or we got to do some income improvement, or we got to do a little bit of both.
Okay. Well, Dom, I certainly appreciate you taking time with this. Tell us again about how someone can find your courses. So
you can find. I'll let you know. Sorry for cutting you off.
So you're not on the phone with every individual. So how can somebody find you?
All right, so you could, if you Google Dominique Brown, chances are I would pop up. Hopefully, hopefully we got that on lock. But you can go say you're a do-it-yourself type person, right? You can go to yfsacademy.com and you can check out all our do-it-yourself courses. If you're interested in, say, starting a business, helping others doing this, you can go to 30daycra.com. And if you're interested in, say, one-on-one help, you can go to yourfinancessimplified.com. I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit longer word, but you go to yourfinancessimplified.com. So we can possibly assist you one-on-one. On YouTube, you can just search Dominique Brown. I should pop up there. And on Instagram, Dominique_Brown. You should see me there as well.
Okay, awesome. I certainly appreciate it. Now, for those that are watching, I am a member of Mr. Brown's course, so I certainly appreciate you taking the time. I got to get my spending plan together. That's what you sent me several texts, emails.
I say, if you send it over, we'll review it and let you know. I would say, just think of it this way. This is going to help me get you want to be somewhere different in a year from now, right? So just look at it that way. My spending plan is going to get me what I want within a year from now. And I'm going to have the accountability of Dom to review it and then send me feedback on if we're getting closer or we're getting farther away. I think a lot of people don't have accountability also. It's easy to start. Sometimes it's harder to keep it going. So that's why we like to review it and provide feedback also.
Okay. Well, I've seen changes so far. You recommended things to pay down this, pay that, pay this, and I started tackling those things. So I certainly appreciate the advice. I'm gonna get that spending plan over to us. I got big dreams.
See, if you measure it, you feel a whole lot better.
Right. And after talking to you today, I'm hoping that just like I feel better, I'm hoping that our audience feels better about budgeting or tackling some of those addressing some of your financial woes, especially coming off of this pandemic.
Yeah, I think that strengthens the need for the emergency plan, as well as strengthens the need to start some form of entrepreneurship journey to bring in at least something, right? Because a lot of people got hurt from not having anything coming in, and credit got hurt, income got hurt, goals got crushed. So start now. You always want to start when you up. A mentor of mine says, when you up is when you want to invest, because everyone experiences a down time frame. So if you are up and feeling good, that's where you should be kind of pressing the envelope to move forward on some of those goals.
Everybody's not an entrepreneur, so
maybe. Right. So I say, figure out something that you're passionate about, right? And then try to identify the income in that particular passion. So for example, if you are a car guy and you just like talking about cars, you don't have to go into a business servicing people with cars. You can say, all right, let me just start a YouTube channel. If I start a YouTube channel, maybe I can get ad revenue. I'd like talk about cars all day. So if you do it anyway, let's create a show around it. So at least you either get ad revenue or you can promote someone else's product, right? Somebody else probably has a course. They have widgets. They have links to stuff. So if you always talk about a certain thing anyway, well, let's just try to monetize that and monetize your fun at the end of the day. And that could be a route as well. There's tons of people who literally just post YouTube videos about their passions, and they make a killing. I know a couple people making 30, 40 grand a month off ad revenue just off of talking about the stuff that they care about. It's this day and age is a whole lot easier to be an entrepreneur than 10, 20 years ago because of the internet. You don't have to, do a service-based business like I do. It could be entertainment. It could be whatever you're passionate about. Just take some time to research on who's crushing it, doing what you like to do. And then maybe, there's some room for you also. Okay.
Awesome. Well, you changed my perspective on a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm sure we'll get to talk about it later on, because you're very thorough. You text me all the time.
We'll text a phone call or email away,
or emailing me about where we are. I'm making a joke about it, but I'm just saying that for those that are interested in the academy or the one-on-one service, Mr. Brown is very thorough. He, as you can see, he's not one of those just fly by night, widget tell you this quick fix thing. He's technical, and he's going to tell you what you need to know according to the law to get in a better space. So I certainly appreciate your time today. You got any closing thoughts or any?
I would just say this, even no matter where you are in your financial journey, just try to take somebody with you. The moment you become a teacher, the easier the stuff it becomes to sink in. So grab somebody younger than you, grab somebody older than you. And, as you learn stuff, give them the game. You might have to be a little bit annoying about it, but if you're improving your credit, you're improving your budget, you always want your team to be with you celebrating, right? You don't want to be the only one in the end zone with the champagne. So take some family members with you, because you never know the impact that you could have by just having that conversation. It could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Just have the conversation, and hopefully they kind of see the light, and it will strengthen your education as well, because you turn into the teacher. So that's the one thing I'll tell everybody to do as well.
Okay. Awesome, Mr. Brown. Thank you. You guys go out and at least Google Mr. Brown. I could tell you all day that he spent time with Oprah. I could tell you that he's spent time with this celebrity or that celebrity. I'm just saying, if you've taken the time to watch this video, you've seen that we've given you a wealth of information, a perspective change. Contact Mr. Brown. He might give you that hope that you need in terms of capturing your dream and changing some of your goals, or at least building a legacy. Especially in my community, that is something we need is to change your legacy. So, Mr. Brown, again, I certainly appreciate you. Can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Alden.
And I'm Calden.
Thanks for following us. You can find us on Facebook at Good Twin Bad Twin Unleashed, and also on Instagram at Good Twin Bad Twin Unleashed.
Now don't forget to watch our YouTube page, and make sure you like and share our videos. Also go to our Facebook page, check out our t-shirt line. We have several wonderful t-shirts there that helps us to continue to provide good footage for you. Thank you.